everybody. Welcome. This is our final series of IG Lives that we're doing with Story Intensive teachers and Story Intensive graduates for the year. We've done 3 in total. These takeovers have been incredible. A really fun thing about them is that they were sort of organized and produced all the material and content without me. So when the videos came up, they were all fresh and new to me as well. So I've been watching along with everybody else, pretty astounded by the quality of and just beautiful honesty in words from all of these graduates. And also, it's been just a treat. I'll be honest, it's been such a treat to be able to see how different writers take these lessons and these methods and turn it into magic in their life in such different ways. I know this is the case, but it's been really wonderful and fun to be able to share it with you and to experience it in real time. So today I'm really excited and really looking forward to speaking with Carrie, Lindsay, Kristen, and Sonal. I think in that order. And here is, I think, Carrie right now. Let's see. I think Carrie right now. Who's our first person? I've got a little note from the production team. It's Carrie. Okay. Hi, Carrie. Let's invite her in. So as she gets settled in here, I want to let you know that we are open for live questions. So hi, Carrie.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome.
Thank you.
I was just it's so great to see you. It's really great to be able to speak to you.
Yeah.
We haven't done this a lot.
No. I was going to say, I think you have what people see in me, which is like a great smile. Like you lead with a smile, right?
So do you.
Yeah.
You're just like your Instagram is just pure joy. I enjoy it so much.
Oh, thank you.
So I was just letting everybody know that I have a couple questions. I definitely have a few things that I want to ask you. No way will I cover everything that I want to ask you in 20 minutes. But I also want to say that the priority is answering your questions, everyone who's watching. So if you are sitting on the fence, if you are really thinking about whether this is like the time to make this commitment, or even if it's the kind of commitment that would be right for you, ask us any questions and ask Carrie. She's super candid. All of our grads are super candid and here to answer your questions. So please do. And we'll both keep an eye, okay, Carrie, on the comments that they come in, if any questions come in, and we can just be like,
beautiful.
That was really interesting. Stop. Let's talk. So hi and welcome. Want to take a deep breath with me for a second? Just come here.
Yeah.
So you are a writer and a coach. You help people find their direction in life and their careers. And I had a couple questions for you. One was, how do you feel about writing as a vocation versus a career? And do you even separate the two? Or do you?
Yeah, I separate. Well, what do you think is the difference between a vocation and a career?
Well, I have a Catholic background, so vocation is like what nuns get, right?
Yeah.
You get a call to a vocation like that. So it has like a sense of a deep meaning that is unrelated to professional paychecks. Like it may not be, it could be a Venn diagram there, but I mean, we all want that. We all want something that kind of has that Venn diagram in our life where we receive energy and compensation and resources in exchange for our gifts. And I just wonder if there's a use in separating those, in your opinion, as someone who does this work with people? Like I coach people creatively, but you really are working in the career field as well. So as an author and as someone who's gone into fiction a little bit more and playing with that, what do you think? Has anything come up that way around vocation for you?
Yeah. I think what can ruin the vocation bit is thinking of it as a career, which isn't to say that you can't make money or won't happen for you. But I think you can have both, right? Like you can be very happy. Like Jenny, who did like an
Hmm.
takeover, she had that, right? Where
Yeah.
she had a job and then she kind of wrote on the side.
Yeah.
And taking that pressure off of your writing is a gift. Like, it's a gigantic gift. So I think that they're separate. Sometimes they'll merge together. Sometimes they can help. Those people usually become copywriters.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wondered if you've worked with copywriters and if you've ever steered anyone back towards the creative in their
Yeah.
fields.
So I think I asked this of copywriters on Twitter a couple, I wouldn't be like weeks or months ago, but I went like, what is it? Is it the love of the sales or is it the love of the
Yeah.
writing?
Yeah.
And they went, no, it's the writing. And you realize you can do it for sales and you can some people can turn it off and some people can't, right? Like
Right.
the emotional love of the writing.
Right. Right. Oh, that's really interesting. So I have another question for you, because recently a call came in, or a discovery call came in that is about this topic, and I thought this is perfect. I can run it by Carrie. Because you write nonfiction, and because you're a successful author in your nonfiction field already. Do you think that do you think, I don't actually know the answer to this question 100%. I have a feeling, but do you think the story intensive and the creative work we do there would be useful for a writer who is not interested in fiction or memoir or novels, but wants to like get their communications boosted, wants to like help in their professional writing and career, like that sort of thing? How
Yeah.
and why?
So you changed my book. Like, because
Really?
I was writing the Career Stories method when I took the class, and I went, oh, there's not enough stories of people in here.
Hmm.
But I think the way that I was able to get in touch with how that person was feeling, what they were going through, what they wanted in their career, the way I could describe that, all came from the lessons, like in the intensive, and then I was able to just bring that and then, put it into nonfiction. Yeah.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
it's,
I mean, that speaks to your skill also, to being open to put that together.
yeah. But I think like on LinkedIn, like if you're thinking about LinkedIn or places where you're writing like businessy kind of stuff, they eat up stuff that
Hmm.
comes. Like that's
Yeah.
creative nonfiction. They eat it up. They're so
Right.
hungry. They don't want to hear another like advice
Right.
or another, like I met a
Right.
man on the way to work, right? I think the stories where you can get into what the change was, what the emotion was, um, it's all fiction rules. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for that. Thank you. That actually is going to help me when I speak to some people, like just in the granular details of how they can make it work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, do you have any questions for me, or anything you want to tell anybody, or also open to questions, people who are watching? Type it
Yeah.
in.
Ask questions. I'm good at responding. Yeah. There
Yeah.
was, they said, to prep for this, they said one question would be like, how did you know you were a writer? And I
Yeah.
think I recorded myself trying to answer that like 20 times.
In preparation for this?
Yeah, I was like,
Okay, give it to us. Give
and
us the
so
spiel.
yeah.
How did
Um,
you know? How did you know that you wanted to be a writer? Carrie.
well, I think I'm someone who denied myself of it for a long time. So I think that's where did I always know? And I think I always knew, but I pretended I didn't know.
Mm.
So, but from when I was a little kid, I remember I took like an encyclopedia and just scribbled like all over it and gave it
Oh.
to my mom and said like I wrote a story. And
Oh.
she was like, tell me about, like, luckily not screaming at me. And I would also write little scenes and poems and then wait till people walked by my house. And then I would like show up and perform them for them. Like
Wow.
just loved, and my grade one report
Wow.
card says, she's working on little stories. So I'm like, oh, I think because I've always done it, and maybe it's where the vocation career thing comes in, is because I've
Yeah.
always done it. I think it was just the thing I did. It's like walking. You just, you just
Right.
do it.
Right. And then where did the like denial of it come in?
Well, I think that when I thought, could I work? I think the denial was
Right.
linking it to a career. Could I work as a writer?
That old chestnut.
No, you're not going to make any money. Yeah. So I think, and now I just do both and I don't really worry about the money and the writing. Right. Yeah.
See, that goes back to that first question of like, is it worth separating it? The the money and the writing and what am I like the identity piece of it, like am I a writer or not a writer? Feels like
Yeah.
if it gives you power, yes. If it
Yeah.
causes anxiety, then don't worry about it. You're doing it it's like walking.
Yeah.
You're doing it anyway.
Yeah. And I always like had encouragement, like there would, it's like, do you know Margaret Sweatman, the writer of Margaret Sweatman?
No.
No, she's like a
Writing her name down.
Manitoba writer. But she came to our class, like in elementary school, and she had like a visiting artist and said, everyone, can you just describe a room? And we all had to like describe a room. Um, and I remember I read mine out and she was like, I think you're a writer. So there's been
Oh,
clues, right?
yeah.
Along the way. Yeah. No one else named a light
Yeah.
source. Yeah.
It's those clues that we pick up,
Yeah.
if we're paying attention. The other question that I asked everyone to prepare for was like, what were the twists and turns that led you here? So like, as you follow these clues, if you were looking back in that old, connecting the dots after the fact
Yeah.
kind of way, what other twists and turns as you followed this? How did this direction
Yeah.
inside yourself, how did it get you here now? Like, how were there any left turns? Were there any like cul-de-sacs? Did you turn back? Did you back cycle? How did you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, lots of turns because I've always been like, you're gonna do the money. Like I'm so
Right.
practical. You're gonna do the money thing, and they'd be like, but you do have an idea for a play. You do, So I feel like I've read every book on writing that that you could get on what you should do, and did all the exercises. And for you, I first did like the story prompts,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
want to be like 4 years ago, maybe like a long,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So would do those, and then would kind of lose focus, but something would always like pull me back. Um, for me, I think it was that I was writing this book, that I was publishing it. Um, and for some reason, I don't know what it was, I just was like, you're allowed to indulge yourself now. You don't have to you don't have to hold yourself back from taking this class and being with real writers and doing the program. You don't have to do like the free stuff or read the book. Just like get the real deal,
Right.
right? And just
Right.
see how it lands. And it's not a waste of
Right.
money. Um, and so I think it was like a confidence or feeling like I could give that to myself.
Yeah.
Because yeah, 'cause I
It's
think
a huge gift.
your program, it's a treat. Like
Yeah.
it's a real.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to love yourself
Yeah.
to gift, Yeah.
Yeah. You have to think that it's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
Not that the course load or the work is going to be worth it, but that
Yeah.
your desire to write
Yeah.
inside has enough
Yeah.
worth to meet. It's a it's a big ask. It's a big ask for us. It's like
Yeah.
it comes in lots of different ways, but when meeting the creative call and like giving yourself the opportunity to learn some mastery and some craft,
Yes.
that's not going to necessarily in a direct way give back to the like it indirectly, it definitely gives back to everything, but not in
Yeah.
that direct transactional way to your income.
Yes.
Although it might,
Yeah. It
it
might.
might,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
might, but that's not where the
Yeah.
promise lives. Yeah.
No. Yeah. And just I can talk to other people who like I can share my writing with a real writer. I can get real feedback, not
Mhm.
just like my husband, right? Being like, read this, is it good? You know, like all of that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. And I
Um,
had, yeah, go ahead.
I have
Sorry.
one more question.
Yeah.
Um, briefly, because we only have 5 more minutes left together. What do you think about ambition for a writer? Like, what do you think about being ambitious in like, you've never written a novel before, I'm going to write a novel, or I'm not a creator, I've never submitted anything before, I'm going to submit this story that I wrote. What do you think?
I don't think it hurts. I don't think it hurts. I was speaking to a woman the other day, and she'd quit her job to write a novel, and now she was worried about money. She thought she'd find little
Right.
part-time jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And what I said was like, think of it like seasons, careers like seasons. And I was like, so maybe you're just in the season of I'm writing a novel, and I also was like, it's a gift. Like it's not, if you hang out with writers, you think that you writing a novel or a short story or wanting to be published or submitting something, it feels like everyone's doing it, but it's so rare, right? So
When
if
you said
something
that,
came, you know, it's so rare.
yeah, when you said that in your stories, I'd never heard that before. I'd never heard that
Yeah.
before, and I was like, thud, like that's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. You think everyone's doing it.
No way.
Um, no,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't want to use the word crazy or madness, but it's kind of like it is an ambitious. It's bananas. Let's just say it's
Yes.
like it's out
It's
of this world.
bananas.
It's like it's bananas.
Yeah.
So if you feel called to do that, it's not like something everyone's doing.
No.
It's special. It's a special
It's
call. Like pay attention.
Yeah. Like if I walk down my block of the 50 houses, there's probably one or two people who actually are writing a novel. So I think if you have the ambition and you want it, that's great. If you haven't written a novel, you might want to take, baby like
Right.
baby steps. But if you can see the whole, I've never written a novel, so I don't know.
Right.
Um, yeah, but I don't think that it hurts. And all I know is that the more I talk to people who don't take action, like on their artistic dream, is they never forget it. Like it's not
Mm,
like they go and then they're like, oh, I one day want it. They always want it. So whether it's being a writer or an actor, I used to sign people up for acting classes, and they would be like, I waited 18 years to take
right.
this acting class. It doesn't
Right.
go away, so
Mm.
you may as well do it. You know, go for it.
It's the
Ambition is
best.
great.
That's the that's that's the best advice and the best perspective. Like I just think like you really have everyone. If you don't already know Carrie, follow her career stories. Kelly Carrie, she's so inspiring, and just you've worked with a lot of people, helping them like tune it, present themselves, and position themselves. Yes, but also like tune into that inner voice.
Yeah,
So she knows what she's talking about.
yeah, it doesn't go away. And I
Yeah.
know because I tried to squash mine, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. We have a couple minutes left. Any last thoughts? Any questions from anybody? Just type it in if you have a question for Carrie. We're going to say goodbye and move to our next Story Intensive grad soon.
Did you ever
Okay.
squash yours? Did you ever?
No, I'm really lucky. I didn't. I squashed other things. I squashed
Mm,
other places where I felt like I would belong in society because I chose the other, like thinking that there was like either I'm going to make money or I'm going to, you know, commune and connect and write and study writing. Um,
yeah.
I I squashed any like a feeling of like actually belonging to like the real world a lot,
Okay.
which is just the other side of it, right? Just like
Yeah.
Yeah, bringing in our full selves is just, no, we need classes on how to integrate our full selves, don't we?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Well, thank you so very much, deeply. Your Instagram stories, your takeover were so inspiring and
Oh,
entertaining and instructive and wise, and we really, really love having you as part of the community here at our school.
love it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your lives.
Thanks. It'll be
Yeah.
fun. Stick around if you want. And
Yeah, for sure.
bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Next on my list is, oh, thanks for all the hearts. Next on my list is Kristen. Kristen Filler. Come on in. Yay, hearts. Hi. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. You want to take a quick little breath with me and just land in the room together?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi, Sarah. This is my first live.
Welcome. You're doing great so
Thanks.
far. That went
Thanks.
very smoothly.
Yes.
It takes a little getting used to the like looking at yourself and each other and the
Yeah.
people. But
Yep.
oh, hi Trish.
Trish is here.
Thank you so much for your takeover this week. It was
Thanks for
incredible.
having me. So much fun.
I got a little emotional watching yours. Like we've been working together for a really long time.
Mm-hmm. Since 2012.
A really long time.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
basically when we opened the doors, basically.
Mhm. Yeah. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, so I prepped we prepped a couple questions, and I wanted to ask you first, again, anyone who's just joining us, ask us questions. At any point, your questions are the priority. We are here to talk about the Story Intensive, so if you have any burning questions about it, let us know. And Kristen, obviously, if you have any questions for me, we can just chat there too.
Mm-hmm.
My first question for you is, did you ever think that you were going to be a creative writing teacher?
Kind of. I went and got my MFA thinking I can teach. If I have this degree, I mainly went and did that because I wanted to, study writing more, but I also knew that I could use it practically.
That's why I got my MFA too.
Yeah, so it's sort of like, it's not just about the writing, it's also about how can I, like you and Carrie were just talking about, make it work career-wise or financially. But I much prefer teaching with the intensive than teaching at a university or a college, for sure. But I think it was sort of always in the back of my mind because I don't know that I knew that writing itself could, be a career. And I think I've since come to the impression that it can be. It certainly is for a lot of people. But the teaching of it is so much fun. And the way that we teach it in the course, in the intensive, is I think probably more fun than if I were, putting a syllabus together and teaching, regular college. But I think it's probably in the back of my head.
Yeah. I mean, what I love about working with you and what I love about your work and what your students love about you is you really bring together, you really integrate your own writing practice with their learning. Like you're learning, they're learning, you're working together. Yeah. And on your Instagram too, you're like, always sharing what you're doing. It's super inspiring. I feel like I'm right there with you with your word counts and like it's like this. It's beautiful. You have a really beautiful combination of the ambition and the humility at the same time, which is just like this perfect blend that makes me feel like, oh, if she can do it, I can do it. And how does she do it? I need help. Like it's beautiful. You're so supportive and it feels like it's part of your creative practice. Like is it? How how do you do that? How do you balance, like, because writing, how do you do it? Yeah. How do you share and why do you share and how does it give you, like, what can we learn? What can we learn from it and how does it work for you? Like, where do you fit it in?
That question was big for me last year in particular, because before the pandemic, I was sharing regularly, sending newsletters, I was writing blog posts, and it was really centered on sharing what I thought was content of value. Like, here's practical things that you could do for your writing life and things that I've come across that have helped me. And then I didn't post anything for most of 2020, and I was really thinking, how do I want to use this space? Like, how is it going to serve me, and not only my writing, but people who are following along? I don't know everything. I have a stack of writing books. I'm always taking classes. I'm always learning, because I don't feel like this is ever, writing isn't something you ever come to a point of like, I know everything there is to know. I've mastered it. It's an ongoing thing. So I wrangled with that question last year, and I just came to realize I didn't want the structure around sharing, like, I had the schedule with my posts and the content I was sharing. I was making editorial calendars for myself. And I was like, what if I just share what I'm doing in real time? I just go all in on, here's where I'm at, here's what I'm working on. And, if it resonates with other people, I know that I like to see other writers process and how they do what they do. So I thought, if that's what I like, maybe other people will like, following along too, because I could talk about how you do any of this with other writers all day long. Like, I want to know, how do you do it?
I know.
Like, there's a secret, right? Do you know the secret?
Yeah.
Share it.
I love it. I think it's really brave, and it comes out. It resonates out, that it feels very real, and and every time you post something, I'm just drawn to it. The energy behind it. It's imbued with the energy of your work, which is it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love hearing about process too. Yeah. Tammy also. It's like, I love hearing about the process. It's like every novel or every project, every piece just demands something different. So even if you figure out how to write one novel, it doesn't mean that the next novel you write is going to follow the same rules at all. No. In fact, probably not exactly.
Hasn't been my experience so far.
So, the other question, there were the other two pre-prepared questions, but I am really curious because I don't know this about you. How did you know you were going to be a writer?
You know what? A lot of the things Carrie was just saying really resonated with me too. The clues along the way. And I think I have just always been drawn to writing and reading. Like, every writer you hear is like, I wrote a lot as a kid, and that was true. But as I was listening to Carrie, I remembered that this thing that I used to do as a kid. I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, but I remember being a child and narrating what I was doing in my head in like first or third person as if it were a book. I used to do that a lot. So I think it's just the way my brain is wired, and it's always been in there. And I had also a teacher in 5th grade who we were writing poems, and she really encouraged me and submitted mine to this anthology for like elementary school poets, and it got accepted. And that stuck with me through the rest of my schooling, and just, having that one teacher who was like, I see something here, you really like this, and you should keep doing it, and giving you that encouragement. It keeps you kind of fueled, having people cheering you on. My parents were like that too. They were never like, get a real job, or, be practical. Writing isn't practical. They were like, go to grad school, follow this interest, see where it takes you. So I think I followed the clues along the way, just like Carrie was saying.
Yeah.
It's always been there.
Yeah. And we're lucky, those of us who have people who see it and point it out to us and give the mirror back. We are really lucky. I think, I don't know I want to just mention, however, that there was a good response to your narrating yourself as though you're in a book. Like, you're not alone.
Okay, good.
You're not alone. You got some love from that.
I don't think I've ever shared that before, so I'm happy to hear that. That's normal.
It's like your story. I would guess the storytelling impulse is, well, I don't want to talk too much about this because it's coming up in a future post, but I spoke to an expert on play. And there are archetypal 8 play personalities, the things that we find joy in, often when we were kids, and it often is a key to where things feel more effortless as adults. to find flow. And storyteller is one of those archetypes.
Oh,
I
that's
am
cool.
not a storyteller.
No?
No, I do not narrate. But what I do is like draw. I'm a crafter and a maker. So the craft and the senses and the fit, like I like to cut up and do the washi tape and the paper and whatever, and that like drawings and using the crayons and the inks as a kid, that was where it came to be. But that's why I have to learn so much about story structure. It does not come naturally. But there are natural born storytellers also. And it sounds like that might be it, that like narrative, the inner narrative is like creating a story everywhere you go. I'm gonna tell this story. Anyway, let me see now. I got off track. What I wanted to say was, I don't know if you've experienced this in any of your classes with any of the writers over the years. But sometimes people have, like if they are one of a group of siblings, even just two or more, if there's someone else in the family, if there's another sibling in the family who has some kind of like propensity towards writing, only one can be a writer in the family because writing is this like rarefied thing. Our society thinks that writers are these, it's passed down from generations. We are very special people go into this. Very special people do this. So I wonder if have you seen that? Have you seen like people who haven't been given that mirror, or who haven't been given the recognition from someone like in family or otherwise, who still want to write, who are just like coming out to like raise their hand and say, I think I want to write. Like no one ever thought that I don't get to be the writer because my sister's the writer, but I really want to tell this story. Have you met any of those writers?
I'm sure I have. I know there have been at least a few students in recent classes that I've had where they had like people in positions of power, like teachers, pretty much squash that for them and tell them they were not good, or give them such harsh critique that they put it away and decided, I can't do this thing. But it's always, there, and it's something they return to. I've seen that with so many of my students, that they're returning to writing after a long pause because maybe they didn't have the support, or they didn't have someone encouraging them, or they had someone just totally discouraging them. I think that happens a lot, which is really unfortunate. So my total joy is reflecting back to other writers, like if it's in you and you want to do it, you can do it. You can absolutely do it. Don't listen to the people that say they can't, because they can't write. They're reflecting something else back at you.
Yeah, you think about who that like nameless teacher, like grade 6 or 7th grade teacher who thinks that it's okay to tell a kid that their creative work isn't good, and just like,
or even
painful.
At the college level. I don't remember if it was this recent year or the year before, but I had someone who had received such harsh public, like within the classroom at a college level, and it was like, I'm shutting this down forever. And then coming back to the intensive, thank goodness this place that we create is so welcoming, and you're not going to get that treatment in the classrooms in the intensive. And it's almost like there's a level of healing you have to do from that, like kind of, you were squashed publicly, and then you have to, recognize it's still there. I want to do this. And how do I heal that and feel brave being vulnerable, putting my work in front of strangers again? We're not going to squash you. That won't happen here. Yeah.
You're getting a lot of love from that too.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people are relating there.
Good. Oh yeah, I see the hearts.
Yeah. Anybody, for those of you who are just joining, welcome. Hi. We're talking to Kristen, who's one of our story intensive teachers. If you have any questions about writing, about process, about what you're working on, about how working outside of an MFA might be beneficial or different, she's the person to ask. So just type in your comment, because we are here to talk to you if you have anything that you want to ask us. Kristen, do you have any questions for me, or anything that you'd like to share with people or discuss, or any like burning question that's what's going on in your process right now that we can talk about?
What's going on in my process right now is I am letting a fourth draft of a novel I've been working on for 3 years sit, and I have another story that's really talking to me, and I'm not turning around and looking at it yet. It feels like it's over my shoulder. It's been like for months now talking to me. So I keep
I
taking
know you
notes,
mentioned
and
it a little
then
while ago. Yeah.
it's there. And I'm like, it's not yet, because I can't, bail. So do you have any thoughts on finishing something when you've got
Okay.
this other thing that's like, oh, this feels like a great idea, I should work on this?
Well, here's what I want to ask you, because it could be either way. Part of me is like, yeah, that could be like a form of resistance that's keeping you from like the final simmer of that
Yeah.
cooking of the project, because it's hard to finish something. It's really hard to finish something because in a totally different way, because then it's done and then you can't, whatever it is what it is. And for some of us, being in a place where it's not quite finished is more comforting. Not all of us, not everybody, but because then there's always the possibility that you can still make it better.
Yeah.
And so that's one piece where I would be like, but then the other side of things, and I'm more on this side because I really don't like things to be unfinished and in process. Like the process is, I just like, is it or isn't it? It's like, I can't rest. It's like, is it or isn't it? I just, is it in or is it not?
Yeah.
So I feel like putting something in a drawer to rest is very smart and can be really relaxing and can be exactly what it needs to continue rising and baking and being what it is. And like, there's something in perhaps this idea that's tapping you on the shoulder that is going to teach you something that novel needs you to know before you finish it. Like there might be something, it could be totally different. I don't know if it's another novel, if is it another character. Yeah. So there might be something craft based or thematically, or it could even be something like you need to live another aspect of life experience in and through writing something so different in order to have that other facet that when you look at the book that's in the drawer, the question becomes clear because you now have had this other path. And that happens to me.
Yeah.
I guess, this is the intuitive process. This is the, like, when you get really, really still, if you can get like to a nice place of calm, like some centered, do some kind of practice to get really centered. And then know if that question feels, when it's tapping you on the shoulder, if it feels really expansive and alive, or however the feeling of truth feels in your body. Like, does it feel sparkly? Does it feel warm? Does it feel open? Or is there a kind of like a closing or a compression of some part of your body, or however you feel something that's not true, that's not quite true. And that's how I do it. I eventually will come to a place, and after I finish asking everybody around me, eventually asking for advice everywhere, eventually I'll come to a place where I'm like, okay, does it feel expansive or does it feel like a contraction or a compression?
That's really wise. Yeah. It's definitely like a sparkly opening kind of feeling. And I want to explore that because it's a lot less work to do, like to play with the new thing than to, continue rewriting and revising the thing that is currently in process. But that's a lot to think about and really interesting, because I think both of them I want to finish and work on and give attention to. And it's almost like I wish I had more, like I can only really work on one particular story at a time. I find it really hard to jump unless it's a short story and I kind of take a break and work on that and complete it and then let it sit. I couldn't possibly jump between the two, I don't think. So I feel like I need to give it, respect both of the stories and let them have their moments,
Yeah. And, I learn a lot from my friend, Sarah Henstra, who's a novelist who is able to work on like she can be revising something and writing something fresh. And I've been paying close attention to how she does it. And her brain's different than mine. She's like she's almost like a scientist. She's an English prof and she's like literary and she's just like so smart. And her writing is like creating stuff is playful for her. So
Yeah.
I feel like when there's a first draft tapping at your head, at your shoulder, and you have a fourth revision that requires different parts of you, and you're allowed to follow that sparkly feeling. It's like taking a walk through a kind of a part of the forest you haven't been in yet.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not like you're not going to be at this point. That idea is not requiring you to sit down and get serious, like get your page count and your word count and everything. Right now, you're accumulating a bed of detail. So it could be a refreshing break for a week or 2 weeks. Put a cap on it.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I've been doing the Thousand Words of Summer with Jamie Attenberg, and I've written so far 6. We have 2 days left, 3 days counting today. So I've got 7 new short story starts, and this has been, I'm going to return to this kind of practice for sure. Taking like 2 weeks and just saying every 2 days I'm starting something new. I'm ending it wherever I ended on the second day. And I've got a few that are still like, oh, that I want to return to that. A bunch that I'm like, whatever. But a couple that are like, I'm coming back to that at some point. So it's fun to explore and play, definitely.
Freedom. It sounds really, really fun. It sounds
highly
really
recommend
fun.
it. It's fun. Yeah.
And great for summertime.
Yeah. You said that, and I was like, Sarah's right. Summertime, we have to play.
We got to play.
We have to.
Kristen, this has been so great. We're going to switch off and speak to Sonal next.
Yay.
But I just wanted to thank you and share our gratitude. Your takeover was really inspiring. Your Instagram feed is so inspiring. Everyone, if you're not already following Kristen Ophelia Writes, please do so. She's so great.
Thanks,
thank you.
Sarah.
Thank
you.
And we'll see you in the intensive this fall. For your class.
I'm so excited. Yes. Thanks for having me. This has been so much fun.
Well, may there be more Instagram lives in your future.
Yeah. I'm a pro now.
Yeah, you are. Bye, Kristen.
All right. Bye, Sarah.
Okay. I'm going to call in Sonal. There she is. Hi.
Hi.
Love the headset. Sonal.
Yeah. Old school headset.
Love it. You're getting some hearts there. Do you want to take a breath with me? Just so we can like arrive in the room together at the same time?
Sounds good.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Getting lots of love. I love it. Thank you so much for your takeover yesterday. I really, really loved it. Really enjoyed it. And this morning, I listened to the last parts of it this morning. I was chunking it out, and this morning I had to laugh when I heard that Instagram bleeped you out. That's a first. That was a first for me. I've never.
I'm surprised it didn't happen until the end of the day. I'm like, wow, I guess I'm like I'm spending so much time in virtual kindergarten. I guess I'm watching my language now.
So you talked about about being a writer, and you told your story in the takeover yesterday. So I'm not going to re-ask that question, although please talk about it if you'd like to. Oh, and also just everyone new who has just joined, ask us questions about the Story Intensive. Sonal and I are here to talk to you about learning writing, and if you have any questions about the program, just interrupt our conversation and type your comment in. I'm paying attention, sort of.
Please do.
Yeah. But what I wanted to ask you about was more particularly like the twists and turns. I have to say, the question I got from looking at flow, I've been reading a lot about flow because it's the theme of this month. So one of the hallmarks is this, like, it's not a direct, like, point A to point B. In a story, like when we're in a flow state, there is a meandering that has this aspect of like, oh, it was there all along. A lot like in a story, when you get to the end of the story, you want it to feel like, how on earth did they get there? That's completely unexpected. And yet, oh, it was leading me there all along. And I find that writing brings us to writing in a similar way. And I wondered what yours is. What are the twists and turns? Like, where did you have any U-turns in your story? Did you have any, like,
Oh yeah, yeah. Like no, so I grew up in an immigrant South Asian family, and like, being a writer was not among like the
right,
five careers we're allowed to have. It
right.
was like, doctor, although from my family, we're not a doctor family, so that was out. So it was like accountant, engineer, business, which is kind of accounting, but not, or IT. So
Wow.
that,
Yeah.
like that was it. And no one ever told me you couldn't do that. It was just this was the expectation that was like always set. These are the things you will do. We don't talk about other things. And so like I never grew up thinking, oh, I want to be a writer one day, or I never wrote little books, because that just wasn't an option. It wasn't a thing, you know. I find it so fascinating, especially now that I have kids, because my son actually like made his own book at 4, and I'm like, wow, I never would have done that at 4. Like, so so
He made his own book.
it's so adorable. It's the book with no words.
It's my kind of book. It's like the wordless experience. It's perfect.
Yeah, it has everything. It has conflict, it has plot. It's all there.
You can feel it.
Yeah. I'm not trying to push him into anything, I swear. But so I actually did my first degree in computer science because that's, I was good at it, and it was among the acceptable careers for my parents, and I wouldn't have to like explain or justify or fight for anything. And that was, when I look back in retrospect, it's like, when you're like this teenage, maybe I want to write, I don't know, it sounds like a thing. My high school teacher thought it was something I could do. When you're just at that like baby writer stage, like to have to like fight for it, it's hard. You're not going to be like, yeah, I'm totally going to do this because like, I don't know, can I do this? Like, will it work? Am I going to be a big failure?
Yeah.
I don't know. So the plan was I'm gonna do programming all day, and that's like stable and secure and makes lots of money, and my parents will be happy, and no one will argue with me, and then I'll write at night. And it's like a beautiful, practical idea. And then I tried it, and I realized when you do something you really don't like all day, you can't write it because you're just like, I hate my life. My
Mhm.
I come home from work and my soul is dead, and I don't want to do anything except watch
Mhm.
TV.
Mhm.
So.
Mhm.
I remember like, every Sunday night, right before work, I'd have that pit in my stomach
Mhm.
being like, ugh,
Yep.
work again, and it's another horrible week. And, I spent the weekend like cleaning my house, and it's like,
Yeah.
wow, my life is just meaningless, and I hate
Yeah.
it all.
Yeah. So
So,
I want to just interject and ask you because now, and because I've read some of your work, does any of that, is there a benefit to having that experience in your writing? Does any of that has it been going into your writing?
yeah, I think a lot of it has gone into my writing. I think my writing, a lot of it is processing a lot of that.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, number one, my characters aren't usually writers.
Right.
They're
I
people
love
who,
that about your stories. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're people who do other jobs that they don't
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and my novel right now, it's kind of follows a similar journey, although not to writing. And my main character is an accountant,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
her dad's an accountant,
Yeah.
and I part of me is like, we don't have accountants in literature. Why
No,
not?
not
So,
nearly enough. I know.
yeah.
I know. I love this. I love it. And you know it. I mean, she's real because you know it.
Yeah, and I mean, like somewhere along the line, I was working for my family business at some point, so all the weird politics of working in a family business kind of comes into that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, like, I think it's great when you get writers who come from like all kinds of experiences beyond writing, and I love that because I mean, so often we think that like it has to have been this lifelong dream and desire in interviews with people. I dreamed of writing my whole life. And it feels intimidating if you didn't do that, or you didn't feel like you could, or like you came to it later.
Yeah.
Because like, well, I didn't dream of it my whole life, so am I really like allowed to do this now?
Yeah.
But you can.
Yeah.
And no rule about it.
There are a lot of the writers that we love the most. Karen Joy Fowler started quite late. She was not
Yeah.
someone who like grew up wanting to be a writer. It's like I am the person who always knew. But I really feel like what you're saying is like if you want to do it, you can learn how to do it. It's like you can learn how to write a book even if you didn't grow up making books, making wordless books.
No, exactly. And I mean, for those people, you've probably been writing in your head. I mean, either like Kristen did, but in ways because you grew up observing the world, right? And you grew up hearing stories from people or reading stories, so it's in there. It's just now it's figuring out how to bring it out onto a page, and that can be so.
Yeah. One of the things that we've added to the story course this year and the story intensive is from benefit of working with you as long as we've worked together a really long time. I was also emotional watching your stories because you've been here for a really long time with us. Like you're part of the DNA
Can't
of
get
this
rid of me.
school. Yeah. So one of the things that we added came from the benefit. It's like straight from your well, I was going to say your mouth, but I think maybe it was typed, but maybe it was written. But it was specifically how the story intensive and the story course would work if you were writing nonfiction, creative nonfiction, or memoir. So thank you for that, by the way, for adding that. Would you share a little bit about it for people, anyone who's watching who's like, yeah, but I'm not writing a novel. Like I want to tell this story about this thing that happened to me.
Yeah, so I mean, I write. I mean, right now I've been working on a novel, and I think I write a lot of fiction. But I've also written and published essays, and I've written a play, a couple of plays. One got produced, and the thing is, it's the same technique when you're working with in writing between fiction and nonfiction. I mean, it's a story, even if it's kind of a more literary essay. There's story and writing elements to it, but the best way I can describe it is from a class I took with Marilyn Simons. And she said, fiction, if you're building a sculpture, fiction, you have this, you build up an armature and you build up on top. And nonfiction, you have this big chunk of marble and you're looking for the story in it. You're chipping things away. Because when we look at nonfiction, they're like I'm thinking of memoir, but it applies to other things too. But there's so many things that we could include in the story. Mm-hmm. And the question is what is the heart of the story? What is the thing I really want to say? And then using that to select, the moments, the stories, the characters, whatever, to build that up from our life experience. Whereas in fiction, you're thinking, what is the thing I want to say, and then having to invent those bits. Mm-hmm. Or find them in a different creative consciousness that's not your memory, right? You have a little more flexibility there, but. But nonfiction, you also have the flexibility. You don't have to worry about it being plausible. It was true. So.
Right. Right. You have to just write it so that it becomes so people get it, like believe that it's true. Yeah. And so you're still working with character. Yeah. You're still working
with character. You're still working with image. You're still working with language. You're still working with a sense of narrative or structure, because you got to go from point A to point B through it. Okay. Someone is reading through it. They have to have some through line that carries them through. Yeah. You're working probably a lot more with theme. Yes. Because what's the difference between like an anecdote and like a memoir that really resonates? It's theme. It's that heart, that kind of that bigger meaning. That's in it. That maybe it isn't obvious in the first read, but you feel it.
Yes.
And I think, particularly with nonfiction, the best nonfiction is also the best fiction, but the best nonfiction as very, very honest, right? It's the vulnerability about putting yourself on the page, and being able to, be in that process of being like really truthful with yourself and really, not putting the tidy endings on it, which is really easy to do in nonfiction because sometimes we don't want to go to the uncomfortable place.
Yeah.
Who wants to be uncomfortable? Like,
right.
Really?
Right. Yeah.
But
I'm glad you brought that up. And maybe I'll circle back because I just have two questions I want to ask you, but I think that being vulnerable on the page when you're, I mean, I don't know. I've been writing fiction for some time, and I'm just starting to write these essays now that are nonfiction, and I find it a totally different, like just the question, a new question has come up of like, who wants to read this? Does anybody want to read this?
Yeah.
Like, who cares how I think about things?
And suddenly it's so much more personal. Like, you know, with fiction, you can always have that veneer of like, well, it's not me, it's fiction. Even if it really is you can lie to yourself.
And I can
you know?
put like fancy cloaks and like pretty thing, and I can like dress people up and make them fun to look at and make their voices sound fun. So it's like there's all these like there are lots of smoke and mirrors that you can use to make it fun and interesting. Not just not you, but also just like artifice. It can feel like art.
Yeah.
But when you strip all of that away and you just tell the truth, whoa.
You're like how I'm standing naked in a room and asking people to look. It's like, oh, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's uncomfortable. But that's what writers do.
They really do.
We're so weird. We're so weird. Why do we do this?
Oh, because we're that weird. It's just like, what else would we do? You know?
Well, we could work with numbers. I mean, lots of people need people to work with numbers. Lots of people need IT. Lots of people need IT right now. Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah.
And giving Ryan a winky face too.
Accountants are not nearly this weird. They just, you know, they are not.
No.
So.
No. I love that you have like this access to all of it inside yourself. So it makes your characters, it makes your writing really, it makes your writing really rich because you are like, you're deeply aware of all of it.
Yeah. A writer friend told me once a while ago that I'm really interested in people's motivations. And I think that that's true. And I think that actually comes out in my teaching too. I'm always curious, like, what were you thinking as you were writing this? And not in a what were you thinking? It was more like, oh, you know, what was going through your head in the process of writing, like, and in a weird way, especially in like early drafts, you can kind of see. I see you were kind of afraid here, or it seems like that.
How do you notice it? How do you feel? Like, what is it?
I mean, it's like, you know, when the character shies away from things, you know, and keeps doing that consistently, it's like, I think the writer is shying away from something here, you know, and then it's kind of like, you know, why were they?
I love that.
You know, and I was just reading a friend's story in my writing group the other day, and like, she was like, she really loves kind of like, you know, deep research and theme and stuff like that. And when we read her story, it's like all this beautiful scene and theme and atmospheric, and in the end, there's this big chunk of plot. And it's like, you know, I think you're like going theme. Oh shit, I need a story.
right. It's like, oh, grab on.
But that's exactly how she writes. And I'm like, you know what, that's great because you've got all the good stuff. Now you just need to like take this chunk of story and space it out, and you're fine, and it works. And she's like, oh, but like that's her process. But you can kind of see it in the drafts of the writing, and it was really neat to kind of like, you know, say like, I think this is what's going on, is it? And she's like, yeah, actually, kind of.
So cool. So cool. Like, I was gonna ask you, can we see, like, do you think that it's easier for us to see it in other writers when that easing away, or that like the pulling away versus when it's really true, than in our own writing?
It's definitely easier to see in other writers. And I mean, that's kind of what's nice about giving feedback to other writers, because it's training you to see it. Because then later on, if I've been doing that, and I start with my teaching, and I look at my own stories, I can start saying, oh, yeah, I just told someone else that, and now I see it here. Yeah. But it's harder because we can lie to ourselves. Yeah. Oh, no, like this character is not backing away because I was afraid. They're just that character.
Right. Yeah, we do that all the time.
Yeah.
There's a really lovely comment from Kirti. I just want to make sure that you saw it, Sonal. She just said, a wonderful guide for aspiring writers, and she feels like you got her to herself.
Yeah, Kirti was in my class recently, and she's a wonderful, fantastic writer. She's going to go to the top of every writing list. I know this.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. We love you, Kirti.
I can't send hearts through this thing right now, but you know, they're there.
Yeah, I know. I can't either. I feel like it's like what a strange interface. We're getting some hearts back. It's good.
Okay.
We just have a couple more minutes. Anything you'd like to say? Any like wishes you'd like to make for who you want in your class this year? Like just like make a wish list. Like who is the person? Who are these people?
I love having the writers who are getting in their own way. Like the writers who are like they're really good. They don't know they're good. They've been doing this for a while, and they've got this idea in their head about like, this is why I can't write, or this is the problem I need to solve, and that's why I'm taking the story intensive. And it's almost never quite what they think it is, you know. But I love like I kind of love like doing like I call it writer therapy, and just kind of be like, what is your writing process, and like where is your in your head about this? Because like I mean it's the same thing as my writing. It's like figuring out their motivations.
Yes.
And it combines my favorite things like other figuring out people's motivations, giving advice, and writing. So
That's why we love you. Like,
that's why I love
you're
teaching.
the full package. It's so amazing.
But like I love the people who they have some rules in their head that they're not aware of about why they can't write or why they're not good at, or why they have not been able to justify that they are a writer yet because they don't write every day. I don't write every day because they haven't published a novel. I haven't published a novel. Because they don't write like super literary, very symbolic fiction. I write fun stuff, but like there's always a reason.
Yeah.
And I love kind of slowly revealing that and revealing that that's not a reason. So
No.
send me some of those.
Okay. We're going to do our best. We're going to do our best
right.
to send you some of those. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your wisdom and for being here and for taking such great care of all of your writers. And we love working with you.
I loved it. Love you guys too. And right.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Sonal. Okay. Our final guest of the day is Lindsay. Where is she? Here she is, Lindsay Smith. Please ask your questions to all of us. Anyone who is here or just joining, ask us about your writing. Lindsay is here.
Hi.
She just popped on.
Oh my
Hi.
gosh, this is my first live. Can you hear me?
You're a little bit funky.
Am I funky?
The signal might come on. We might grab you.
Yeah, you're
Give it a
breaking up,
minute.
but it's probably me.
There, how's that?
Okay, can you hear me?
Mm,
Oh no.
We have a Wi-Fi problem. Is it just your signal, Lindsay? I wonder if it's on Lindsay's end. Well, in the interim, we'll just give her another couple minutes and see if something's happening on her end that she can move around for us. And in the interim, please type in any questions you have. I'm here for another 20 minutes. So if there is a conversation that we can have, if Lindsay isn't able to join us, please type your questions in the comment field.
How are we now? Can you hear
We're
me?
great. Yeah, what happened? What did you
It's
do?
magic. I did nothing. I just sat here. It's magic.
Really? That magic. Okay, great. I'm not going to question it.
Technology makes no sense.
Welcome.
Thank
Hi.
you. Thank you. This has been so beautiful to watch. They've all said all the things.
I know.
I'm
Good.
so
It's a
honored
good
to be
show.
here.
It's a really good.
show.
It's a really good show today. So, do you want to join me and just take a little breath? We can
That would be lovely.
celebrate
Let's do
the
it.
fact that our Wi-Fi worked.
Yes.
You just got a ton of love hearts as your eyes were
Aw.
closed there in the last little bit there. Tara, hi. We love Tara. Hi.
Hi, this is so exciting.
Thank you so much for your stellar show. Your takeover this week was amazing.
Oh, it was
I loved
so
all the
much
different
fun.
locations. I love not knowing what was going to come next. I love the pirate tent and the
Oh my
stack of
gosh.
books. I love
Oh,
the washing machine and the folding laundry.
so
Really, you really gave
slick.
us a picture of a day in the life.
It was a blast. It was really kind of like a high to take people along because I spend so much time alone. You don't even know. Like that was the most glamorous my life got was recording it for people. So,
um, I have like a few questions for you, and I'm also just like uh grateful. I'm just really grateful that we know each other and that you're teaching for us
same.
and that this happened this way, that we traversed. Maybe we can start there. Can you tell us a little bit about the twists and the turns? Like you're like curvy. How did you get to this destination? And did you ever know, did it feel unexpected or not, or what?
I I guess looking back, it feels right. It doesn't feel unexpected because I was really searching. Before I found you, I'd taken lots of writing classes. I mean, lots, probably a good handful of writing classes that just they honestly left me more discouraged. I had done journalism in college. Like I was looking for something clearly, and I just didn't find it. I felt like I kept like knocking up against resistance of some kind or another. And the story intensive was something just so different. And it really did give me my process and it gave me the ideas I was looking for and it gave me the permission to call myself a writer. It gave me my community. I still keep in touch with people from my class. Like they're my readers, they're my friends. And so, the twists and turns, like I look back and I don't think my life is terribly linear, but that does feel slightly linear.
Hmm.
There's been lots of dips along the way. I mean, so many dips, but it's almost like that in my little story was the moment. It was the moment of awakening because I really did start taking my writing seriously after that. I was really, like I said, I was really trying before that. It's just I didn't have the right information, and I think I was just very aware of all the things I didn't know, and that really made me feel like a giant imposter. And the intensive, again, it gave me that framework that I'm still working with to this day. So yeah, it does feel, I don't know, it feels like it was just the right thing at the right time, you know?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the imposter syndrome, or as Tanya Geisler calls it, the imposter complex, because
Oof,
it's not another syndrome. It's complex. It's complex.
I'm very
Um,
familiar with it.
yeah, can you tell us a little? Because I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this also feel it, either name it that way or not name it that way, but feel it. Like, how are
I
you
mean,
familiar with it, and does it still come back? And have
oh,
you
always.
experienced it in your classes with any of your writers? And what do you do?
Yes to all that. Um, I feel it often, maybe even every day, and sometimes I have to trick myself. Like I just have learned enough tricks to push through it, to get past it, because I mean, it's just another form of resistance. And once you get familiar with what your forms of resistance are, you can kind of start recognizing it. Um, it shows up in the classes all the time because I really do think that most people think a writer is one thing and they don't see how they fit into that box, or they've been told they don't fit into that box, or um, and maybe they were right. Maybe they don't fit into whatever that box is that they think is a writer, but then they get to expand their idea of what a writer is to what they are. Because, and that really was what it was for me, was finding out what it was that I did well, and then just really going all in on that rather than trying to be this other thing. And I think Sonal talks a lot about that, like trying, and George Saunders talks about it, like trying to be Hemingway, trying to be whatever literary writer or any kind of genre writer, whatever the thing is. Um, and yeah, I do think that like figuring out the thing that I feel I do well, or the thing that I have fun doing, and then
Right.
doing that is sort of like my little paradigm shift to get out of imposter syndrome. I don't know. There's probably other things I'm not thinking of, but I feel it every single day. Like because you write in seclusion, it's so easy to just get all up in your head about like who you are and what you're not doing and who's not listening and, you know, all the things that you're not, that you maybe should be to be the thing you want to be.
Yeah.
Do you feel it still?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like continue. Yeah, I do. And just from what you were saying, what I think there's just, from what you were saying the thing that I'm good at or the thing that feels fun, and we'll go into that. I think for me, there's a piece, if I'm having too much fun, there's some presence around in my head that comes up and is like, well, this is obviously not the right way, because it has to be through the brambles. It has to be up the jagged mountain. All of your practices and rituals and all of the like work you've done is to help you on this arduous journey. And
it sounds
if
awful,
you're having
right?
it, doesn't it? Like who wants to sign up for that? And it's a heartless publishing world, and you're not going to make any money. And no, like it gets to be fun. It's like there's so much pleasure in finding out what it is about the process that you love, what it is about your work that resonates. And often, like when you feel like you're in love as you're writing, that's the very piece that stands out. Like that's the quality that other people, that's the thing. And because it feels effortless or very close to effortless, or even the effort is fun, that's I think that's it. It's like,
I really think that's it. Because it is, I love hearing writers talk about work, because I don't think that work has to be bad. I think work can be beautiful, and it can bring a lot of meaning to life, but it's not the work that like we have this American, I mean, maybe Canadians have it too. I'm sure every country has their own version. Like what work is and how I value myself because of the money I make. And like, it's not that, it's whatever that is. It's not that. What you were saying about, it reminded me of this podcast and Instagram that I follow. It's like this artist who, she makes art with like craft stuff. Like it's very crafty. And I think she started pushing against that critical voice that was telling her that was not art, that like, because it was fun and colorful, it's not art. And that like really, I carry that with me, because I feel like that it applies to writing. It's like, are you having fun? Are you writing in a voice? Are you, I don't know, are you leaning into plot? Because that's really frowned upon in a lot of circles.
Yeah, right?
Whatever it is that's fun.
Like,
I mean,
but if you're not, you can't do it one way or the other. If you're really leaning into plot, there's like some circles, or if you're really leaning into like some avant-garde stuff, then it's like not like that's not what it's about. To like,
exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it's so instructive to hear that even you, Sarah,
oh man,
feel like an imposter, and you know, you have published beautiful books that people love, and like you still feel like an imposter. That feels huge to me.
Yeah.
It's good to remember.
Oh no, I do. I feel, because I've been like, am I not, like I wrote one novel. I wrote a novel, and now I'm like, that was a lucky, like how did that sneak out? I mean, probably can't do that again.
It's horrible that we do this to ourselves.
And what you were saying, just also like I had this idea of what a novelist is, and that's like, I know that I've done this work, I teach this work, so when it comes back, it's like, it's always like up leveling itself. It's like the stories kind of like go to level 2, level 3. Every year they get a little bit smarter. They're like they're like variants of a virus that just like keeps mutating. Yeah, it's resistant to like my usual. And so where I thought like, oh no, I just think about who a writer can be anybody. Like whoever you are, you get to write. Hands down, definitely believe that. Somewhere inside of here, I was like, oh, a novelist is X, and you don't look like the novelists, you know, like the novelists that are portrayed on Younger. If you're watching, are you watching Younger?
No, but maybe I should. You're like a second, like, person with good taste that I'm like, I would read whatever she says to read. It's
fun. It's fun. It's about the publishing industry. It's like got that whole Sex and the City kind of vibe, but in publishing. So it's fun. But all to say, no, you don't have to. A novelist can be whatever, or you can be a playwright and an essayist and a novelist and a poet and
Yes.
a screenwriter. Like there's no, you don't just play around.
That
Um,
feels so exciting to me to be like, I can write across any genre. I can mix genres. What is genre? It's just a marketing thing.
Yeah.
So like, who even cares?
yeah, you can, like, it depends what you want. You get to do whatever you want. Like for
Yeah.
some people, really getting into like a big long series of like 12 or more books in a genre is the fun.
Yeah.
And for some writers, that might feel like a trap because they can't do something new next time. And
Yeah.
there's not one way to do it right. Thank goodness there are different people doing different things so that we get like big long series and we get
Yeah.
like multiple very like mercurial writers who try different things. Thank goodness.
I agree. I agree. And I love that like you are the heart behind the school and you're saying that. And I feel like that really comes through in what we try to encourage our students to do. Like I said earlier, I took a lot of writing classes before I found this one. And I did end up kind of taking classes that were very stodgy in that way, where they weren't open to someone just kind of tap dancing on the rules, and they would tell you like, oh yeah, the publishing industry expects X, your stories need to be Y. And it was just I felt shut down by it. And then it kind of creates a culture in the class of rules and discouragement of each other rather than like what I love about our school is I get to like say our,
It is our school.
yeah, is we like get to point at the sparkly bits. Like that's the thing that is probably the most exciting part about being a teacher is like getting to shine a light on something in someone else's story that just is glowing and they don't even know it's glowing. And like that's the thing that they can start working with that will make them feel less like an imposter maybe, because it's what they're doing so well already without anyone teaching them how to do that.
Yeah. Yes. 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 I mean, you said it creates a culture in the class of that competition, but I think that the culture you describe, that like the rule-based, like here's how we're going to get it right in order to succeed culture, it's not just in that one class.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's so gross.
yeah, we are definitely not stodgy.
I like
That's
that we have a
true.
hashtag. I'm all about that. Not stodgy.
Thanks, Sono. Yeah, I think that culture is like pretty widespread through the field, like we have to find these pockets where people are feeling fresh and loved and appreciated and curious
How
instead
radical.
of competitive. I know, so like revolutionary to not feel like it's a competitive market, but actually one that is based on curiosity, which is what a library is all about.
Yes. And everyone doing a different thing so that someone can like browse the shelves and see all the different colors and excitement and voices and yeah. We're just riffing at this point. Yes.
Yeah, yes. It's very, I mean, we're going into an organic spot here, but it is a little bit like now that it's summer and everything is up. I was down by the lake yesterday and I was like, wow, right now at this moment, there's like all the stuff in the water. There are the water snakes. There are the loons. There's like fireflies. There's like the bullfrogs over there. The mosquitoes are all on top of me. There are caterpillars going. It's like, there's not a way to do it. It's like the beauty of being somewhere in nature or a library or in the realm of story is that we get to experience it all and it gets to happen at the same time in all of these layers.
That's beautiful. Yes.
Okay, so solving the problems of the universe, check.
Yes, we are right here. Not stodgy.
Let me see if I had an extra question for you. I did, but after all of that, it feels like pretty. This is very granular, I just wondered. Let's get back to it for a second. Do you have, because in your stories and your takeover, you have a lot going on. You have you literally have a pirate tent, going like in your office. So, and I loved when you showed the laundry going round and round, and I feel very with deep wisdom said this is also writing. And
it has to be for me. It has
right?
To be. Yeah.
I mean, but all joking aside, do you separate that? Because there's a state of mind that you come to when you're in curiosity, whether in your own looking for the sparkly bits in how it feels to be writing something or someone else's. There's a state of mind that's associated with it. Do you find yourself separate now that with a baby, with this new, like with the family life that's going on, do you separate that state of mind between writing and non-writing time?
I think
How does
I
that?
tried to at the beginning because I thought I write in a specific way, I write in a specific place. I've not been one of those people that can just write anywhere, and it didn't work, because a baby is my life now. Like he is life. There's really not, if I'm going to have writing time, it's because he's not here, and that was set up specifically. So I think what I have learned to do is to stay in that noticing. I think you always say deep noticing. Is that a Sarah thing
Yeah.
that I like took
Yeah.
from you? Because I say it now and I'm like, where did I
Yeah.
get that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just try to stay in that deep noticing place. And, you know, I find myself in my car a lot. And honestly, that could be my second office, because even though it would be highly unsafe to write while driving, and I would never do that, whenever I'm at a stoplight, I am that person who like grabs my phone and like types a note real quick, because honestly, they sneak up on me when I'm in the car. Or I would probably be wise to step out of my office more, even in my writing time, to go and do laundry, because it's like that's where the ideas kind of start meshing and percolating and doing the thing that makes them a little bit more magical than just like, I had this idea and I'm going to try to write it now. And I honestly, like, having my life the way it is now, it was really hard for me to figure out how to be me in it. Like the life happened and I was like, how do I do the thing now? But I think it's been the best gift. And I'm sure every person in every season of life has their version of it, whether it's a day job or, you know, it's like other tasks that you just have to do because you don't have a choice. That's my version of it. And it like really enriched everything that I was doing. And I kind of feel a little bad for the me before, because I didn't have that like level of richness. And again, it doesn't have to be a child. It could be so many things. I just hadn't found that thing yet. But thank you for pointing me to that, because it's very true in a day-to-day basis for me.
Yeah. A couple comments while you were speaking. One, Kristen totally relates. I totally relate as well. Not
Kristen.
as a mother, but as when I'm able to integrate the deep noticing throughout, then it makes everything more rich. And
Well, you have such a full life, and it could be anything, right?
everybody has stuff going on, so it gives you more power, I think, creative power wherever you are.
Like Sonal was talking about having her previous jobs that like they creep into her work. I think it's having that like other counterpoint to your life, whatever it is, and not thinking that you have to just be a solo person in a room to be writing.
That's right.
That doesn't happen much.
That's right. Yeah. And so much happens in the noticing, in deep noticing the details. And then all of those things become a rich bed of material for anything that you choose to write.
Absolutely.
And the other, just like a little note from Captain Safety, Ryan has mentioned that you can use voice memos when you're in the car.
Yeah, preach it. Siri, take a note. She always gets I must have a weird accent, because she always bungles it. And I'm like, Siri, no, try again.
What Siri do you have?
Just the regular, like, blase version of Siri. I don't know. What am I doing wrong?
Try another. I don't know.
Maybe I need like Australian Siri.
I have Australian Siri.
Oh, I love that. I need to figure that out.
Figure it out. Sorry, apologies, Australian listeners. Any other last minute thoughts? We have come to the end of our Instagram festival.
From me? Last
minute
thoughts?
Everyone, last minute thoughts from you and anyone else. But the audience has been quite quiet, so I'm not expecting any questions from the peanut gallery here. But they're just watching and loving the show.
I just want to know what you're reading. That was my question for you.
Oh, I just started a book called Phosphorescence.
Oh, that's beautiful. What is that?
It is beautiful. You're going to love it.
I'm writing it down.
Speaking of Australia, it's by Australian writer Julia Baird.
I don't read enough Australian writers. That's amazing.
It's so inspiring to read. Like it's just so nice to get off of North America as the center of the globe and just like read from someone where Sydney is the center of the globe. And it's about bioluminescence. It's about fireflies and plankton and glow in the dark fungi, and like it's about phosphorescence, which is what it used to be called before. I think in the 60s, bioluminescence was what it was termed, but before that, it was there's the glow, that the light that comes from within creatures. Oh, wow. And it's beautiful. It's a book about awe and wonder, and she's describing all of these experiences she's had following bioluminescence all around the world.
Wow.
And then telling stories of how of personal stories of awe and wonder, and talking about how we find experiences of awe in our life.
That
and
sounds
how that
gorgeous.
is the light, that is the glow, that's the sparkle within that keeps us going in dark times. It's
I could look it up.
gorgeous.
What's her last name? You said Julia
Baird,
Baird.
Baird.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Trish also has a comment. She wanted to know if anyone has ever told you that you look like Meghan Markle. Have you gotten that
Someone
before?
one time told me that, but it was a very
Well,
long time ago.
now it's two. Now there's two.
That was from Trish.
Yeah.
Thank you, Trish. You're amazing.
Yes, so I highly recommend Phosphorescence, and I'm enjoying it so much. And the cover, it actually is a really beautiful book to hold. It has this like holographic glimmery, like it feels like what a book called Phosphorescence should feel like. So yeah. What are you reading?
What am I reading? I'm reading a lot of things always. A novel called Wonderland about like an aging rock star who is like going out on her second attempt to be famous, but it's better than that. Like, I'm
Oh my God, that's
not
such a
doing it
Lindsay,
justice.
such a Lindsay book.
Such a Lindsay book, but also this memoir called Son of a Gun about this guy's mother who was murdered. And it starts off like a really normal memoir, just very linear, but you get to page 80 and it like spirals out into like this other whole thing about like Wyatt Earp and like violence and manhood. And he's just like, he's going there, and it's so unexpected, and I'm really enjoying it.
Amazing. I've wrote it down. Thank you. Added to the reading list.
Thank you. This has been so amazing.
Thank you so much. We love working with you so much. Thank you so much for taking over as you did this week. It was really beautiful and inspiring, and yeah, we just all really love you, Lindsay.
Right back at
And we
you.
will
So
see
honored.
you this. We'll see you this fall in the Story Intensive, and
Yes,
hopefully you'll
I'm
get
so
a class
excited.
full of people who need you to show that mirror to them just for a little bit, so they can get out of their
Come
own
be
way.
in my class. Yay.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Goodbye, and have a great weekend. And that's the end of our Instagram Takeover Festival. And it's also the last one of the series. So if you haven't already, go back and watch the other ones. There's been one every month for the past 3 months. They're wonderful. Every one of our guests is a whole separate universe of writing advice and process and inspiration and delight. And I just take your time with it and flip through. You can watch them all in my highlights reel. And if you are thinking about the Story Intensive, I highly recommend you continue thinking about it and reach out if you have any questions about it. If you want to set up a discovery call with me to talk about your personal situation and whether you think it would work or not this fall, just reach out. You can always contact support at sarahselecki.com and find your way, navigate your way to me that way. And in the link in my bio, you can click the link there and just look for the Story Intensive. Click on that and you can find out everything you need to know about this program. It starts at the end of August, really gets going from September to December. It's a 4-month program. And registration enrollment's open right now. It opened yesterday and it closes on June 24th. So in a couple weeks. Yeah, that's all, folks. Thank you so much for being with us. And we'll see you again. Stay in touch. Get on my newsletter list if you're not already on it, because there's a lot of good stuff coming out there in the next month, all about flow. And for the month of July, all about wellness. So join us. Bye.